demonstration video, we're going to be talking about text search queries. Now, why would you do a text search? The idea here is that you want to be able to search for particular words that may be important to you conceptually in the files that you've already entered into NVivo. So we're going to come to the top ribbon here. I've chosen the Query tab, and I'm going to choose the Text Search Query icon. This opens up a text search criteria window, and I'm going to type in the word write, W-R-I-T-E. And what this will do, it will look through all of the files that I have already entered here, all of these survey files. It will look for the word write, and anytime it finds it, it will identify that as part of the report. So I'm going to run the query. And we see which files of all of the ones we have the word write in them. I can actually see the references that have write by clicking on the reference tab, and it gives me a little bit of the text and with the word I'm looking for bolded. I write what my son says about, and we draw and write in the journal and so forth. Now, in a text search query, the results are not automatically saved. And so if I want to save these results, I think, oh, that's probably going to be interesting. I can come back to the top of the window and click the Save Results button. It says Create Results as a new node. That sounds good. And I'm going to call this Write Query. By giving it the name query, that way I know that this node has been created essentially mechanically. It's not the result of my coding, reading through each item to code to this node. Instead, it's a mechanical query that the NVivo program has created. And I'm going to tell it to save the results. Now here we see the results, of course, and if we want to see these results later, we come over to the navigation view under the search category and find query results, and you'll find the one we just created, write query, which would open up these exact outcomes that we're looking at. Now we're going to go back to our unsaved query. The way we can do this is you find it at the bottom where the open items, and it says unsaved query. Let's see if I can get back to the one that I just used. There's the one I just used. Now, this reminds us this is an unsaved query, and what it's telling us is not that the results are not saved, but that the syntax for running the query is not saved. So, of course, it's pretty easy to type in the word write each time, but if you have a more complex syntax, you may actually want to save that. And so if we want to save the query syntax, we need to come to the button at the top that says Save Query, and I'm going to call this Write Syntax Query, and I'm going to save it. Now you see it says Save Query as Write Syntax Query. I'm going to open up the Queries button, and there it is, Write Syntax Query. And that means that it opens the query syntax back for me, and I can rerun it. And this is very helpful if you are continuing to add files. You may want to rerun the same query later on to get updated results. And so you may not want to have to type in all the syntax if it's more complicated. One of the things I want to show you about these queries, so I'm going to start a new query for us, is that sometimes you want not just the word write, but you'd also like the past tense wrote. So I'm going to type it in WR, and instead of typing the I, I'm going to put an asterisk and then complete it with TE. And I can run that query. Here's our summary view. Let's look at the reference view. And what you'll see here is that I also get some items that have both the word write, I write what my son says, but also we wrote down how we enjoyed in the rest of the text. So that's really very helpful to us to be able to search for different forms of the word. Now, sometimes you may want to look for a file that has two words in it, and maybe write and draw. So I'm going to use the Boolean operator and I can come to the top of my text search criteria window and click the special button, and you'll see the word and. It types it in there for me, and now I'm going to put DR, and I'm going to put an asterisk and W for draw or drew, and I'm going to run that query for us. So we're going to be able to browse the results. What we see here are all the files that have both write and draw. If a file only had write or if it only had draw, it would not be included here. If I had wanted to get the results that were it has write or it has draw, then I would need to change this operator from and to or, and I can do that right up here in with my special button and run that again. And now we should have a larger group because, for instance, look at the first file. It only has draw. The second one only has write. Some of them, like this third one, has both draw and write. So when you use the Boolean operator of or, you get all the files that have write or draw or both of them.